Hello and welcome to this CompSkill how-to video. Today I want to talk to you about a very old Excel function called the OffSet function. Essentially, the OffSet function allows you to offset a formula by a prescribed number of rows or columns. So I'm going to start with this example that I've prepared earlier. It's got some data, 12 rows, each of the months of the year, and we've got a fictitious company with branches north, south, east and west. I've also got sheets that match the branch names, so north, south, east and west. So essentially what I want to do is, without just copying and pasting but using a formula to do it, is to take these values and paste them into north, these and paste them into south, and etc. without using any coding, just formulas. Now there's several different ways you could do this, but I want to do this using the offset function for today's example. So I'm going to go in here and start typing my offset and open a bracket. Then I'm going to go away and open up the thing. So the reference is the reference from which you want to base the offset, a reference to a cell or a range of adjacent cells. So I want to base it on my master sheet and on column A in my master sheet. Okay, then it asks me how many rows I want to make different. I don't want to change the rows, so I can just ignore that. And you'll notice when I ignore it, when we see the actual formula, that we get two commas, and that just says there's nothing in rows. So how many columns do I want to offset? Well, for this case of north, I want to offset it by 1. And I'm going to do that. I'm just going to put 1 in there because it will accept a number, and we will say OK. And what that does is it copies essentially that value from here, 498,924,00, and we can double click on that to copy it down, whip back to make sure it's correct. That's absolutely correct. Okay, so what happens when I want to do the same for south? Well, I could use this formula. So remember, when we copy a formula, we highlight it, we do Control C, then we enter the tick, and then I go to where I want to put it and copy it in there with my Control Paste, and we'll give it a big click. What it's doing, because it's exactly the same formula, is just picking up the north mark. Because what I need now is to move over 2 columns. So I want to make this formula as useful as possible. So I could put 2 in there and it would move over 2 columns, and we'll go back and see and we'll check, and that's correct. So I'll go back there and double click to enter it down and just do another quick check, and that's done it correctly. So I could do it that way. However, I suppose the thing is that doing it this way isn't making it particularly automated. It's making it quite manual. So I want to think of a way where I can increase or change this column reference without having to manually change it. So one way of doing it, and it, again, there's many ways to skin a cat, but one way to doing it is to use a reference value. So we've got the sheet value up here, which is the index number of the sheet, and because it's the third sheet and it's index 3, this is 4, 5, 6. This is one way of doing it. So I'm going to change my formula here, and I'm just going to get rid of my 1, and in here I'm going to put the value of the formula, so the value returned by the formula in cell A1. And then we don't want, obviously you've spotted the flaw. It's going to offset by 3. We don't want that to happen. So we're going to take 2 off that because we only want it to offset by 1. Okay? So we do that and we get the correct number. We better check that, 498,924. Yep, double click. I always look for my 14 down the bottom so I can, oops. we best make that absolute. That's a rookie mistake, isn't it? Let's make that absolute function F4 just to make that absolute, and then we won't have that. I'm happier now. So now let's go ahead and copy this again. So I highlight it, Control C, do my click. I go back here to my south page and I highlight that formula and I copy this one over the top of it. Again, you will see that I've got the 4 in here and it's changed to 4, 6, whatever it is. Nothing updated there. Let's go ahead and have a look at the formula. So last time we offset by 1 row, this time we're offsetting by 2 rows. So I beg your pardon, 2 columns. Let's do it one more time, or maybe 2 more times. So we do the same for east. See, we've got the sheet number in there. This is why, what you saw just then was why you need to turn this off. Take it out of editing. So click it when you're copying and pasting, otherwise you get all sorts of weird things. And we get that we should have an offset of 3, and we have. So that's why the -2 is really important. And let's do our last one for east. I did it again. You really need to tell me when I'm doing that. Sorry, we'll just click on that. We'll do this, copy it in there, and we haven't checked that. We'll just check to see that it's offsetting by 4, and it is, which is perfect. And our last number has got lots of 7s in it, so I'll go down to the bottom, and there we go. So that is an illustration of how you use the offset function, and it is offsetting a value by a given number of rows or columns. So it's an oldie, and it's often, there are, as I say, there's other ways of doing this, but this can be a really useful thing for transferring value from one sheet in a spreadsheet to many sheets, and I found it particularly useful. So I hope you did as well. So don't forget to tune in for the next CompSkill how to, and subscribe if you want to get updates.